Hello, welcome back, friends, to the second panel discussion of the day of the first day of Digital Transformation Conclave, hosted by Department of Electronics and IT Government of Orissa, co-hosted by Moradabad Smart City Limited, and organized by Gov Connect and APEC Digital News Network. This three-day conclave has been aimed at creating a knowledge-sharing platform to discuss on three important aspects of our lifestyle, especially in the new world order, courtesy to the pandemic. One is healthcare, second is digital India, that is digital intervention for good governance, and third is smart cities, that's again how innovation and technology and policy can be formulated to address the problems of urban transformation challenges. The first day, that is today, is completely dedicated to healthcare. In the first half, we had an inaugural session in which we had the presence of policymakers from state governments, healthcare leaders from government hospital chains, healthcare technology solution providers, and also eminent speakers and thought leaders. And now, we have a very important session of the day, that is role of emerging technologies in helping the healthcare system fight the pandemic and how COVID-19 has changed the Indian healthcare technology landscape, the way forward. And for that, we have the healthcare leaders with us today, healthcare leaders from hospitals and also healthcare leaders from health solution providers. Let me introduce you to Himanshu Gupta, Country Manager, Commercial Sales, HP India. Let me introduce you Dr. Saeed Sabahat Azim, Founder and CEO, Global Healthcare System Private Limited. Let me welcome Mr. Nandkishore Dhomne, Vice President, IT and CIO, Manipal Hospitals. Let me introduce you Mr. Prashant Singh, Director and CIO, Max Healthcare. Let me also introduce you Ms. Mitali Biswas, CIO, CK Birla Hospitals. Let me welcome Mr. Shubhankar Pramanik, CIO, Columbia Asia Hospitals Private Limited, and Mr. Abdullah Salim, Group CIO, Omni Hospitals. I welcome all of you to this session.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask, before I ask the first question, I'll request some of us kindly check our surroundings because I think some noise is coming from background from any of us. That might be me, that might be any of you. Kindly check that. With this, let me first ask a question to Mr. Himanshu Gupta from HP. What is your opinion on the role of existing and new emerging technologies to address the problems of healthcare, especially during the time of pandemic and post-pandemic new world order?
Thank you, Souvik. I particularly feel leverage of technology in the field of healthcare has been there for ages. But I think the way we are now leveraging technology in the last 6 months has been far more different than the way it has been envisaged earlier. It is all about leveraging the technologies, uh, what has been there with the fullest. Look at the way consultations, telemedicines have been there for so many years, but the way consultations have increased multifold. And I was recently talking to the CIO of one of the leading healthcare providers, and he said it is 16 times in the last 4 months that people have relied on taking consultations from doctors over telemedicine. Now, the question arises, is it a specific age of customers, a specific honor of customers? Answer is no. In fact, more customers or more patients in the late stage above 55 years are leveraging this technology more and more. So it is all about did we really put to use the technologies which were available? Now, what is the new norm in terms of leveraging technologies as we move ahead in the pandemic times? I think the collaboration between various stakeholders in the entire knowledge chain is become more and more relevant today. While we have so many apps coming up which can sort of digitize the data and the patient interaction, but the ability to immediately recover the so-called reports, the past experience of patients with different doctors or healthcare providers, and the ability of healthcare providers to exchange data among themselves through a government defined policy is the way going forward in the healthcare. As far as HP is concerned and what we have done, I think we have a very, very clear 360-degree policy in terms of our point of view of care. We try and cover all the aspects from the patient side from the collaboration with the solution providers in medical healthcare like Siemens or GE and similar ones, to being part of the framing policy with the government departments. I think we try and give a coverage across all the fronts. Our experience with the government has been quite a lot over the last few years, because we have participated in so many smart city projects directly as well as through our solution providers, because of which we have been able to gain that extra expertise in terms of leveraging the experiences from the smart city deployments in healthcare, in pharma, and the related fields. Coming to how we are able to cover the patients, so-called patient healthcare, uh, there the first and the foremost approach which was taken by HP was almost 8 years back, when we introduced the concept of e-healthcare. And we actually picked up 40 feet containers and converted into a e-healthcare pod. And in that e-healthcare pod, we have everything starting from all diagnostics, ready with IoT sensors and connected over the cloud, where the data is collected, and doctor can be consulted, telemedics can be consulted over the over the so-called remote support. So currently, we are having more than 130 such pods, or so-called EHCs, running across 18 states in the country. And we have recently, I think, just a year back, we have finished almost 1 million patients, visiting those e-health centers across these 18 states. So it's a phenomenal work HP has done over the ages. I would also want to just enhance one more point of view, that HP's mission as a company is to enhance the way people live and work. So all our efforts are around seeing that the technologies we develop, the innovations we build, with the research labs and our so-called technology R&D labs with customers, with universities, is all centered around enhancing the technology innovations, and also leveraging all the possible use cases in drug discovery, drug repositioning, and all the critical areas of precision medicine where HP is partnering. So this is what I would want to give as a first brief summary where HP is progressing. I'm sure all of you know we do a great work in terms of building infrastructures for our customers. So there we have a complete story around how while we have pivoted ourselves as a edge to cloud, as a platform, edge to cloud platform as a services company, and we have various models in terms of how we offer IT consumption as a service now under the so-called HP GreenLake model. And the times of pandemic, how all that becomes so relevant and easy for customers to get the complexity of running IT from the data centers to giving the control to HP, while they can still have the data, the security, everything on premises, but they get a cloud-like experience, being managed everything seamlessly, and with the ability to really pay as you grow and as you consume IT, and also with the ability to really upscale and downscale the infrastructure on their premises. So a lot of new things have happened in the last few years, and HP has taken a lead there. Our point of view definitely remains that our ability to innovate at the research level, and I will give you a certain example as we move ahead, how HP is literally driving wonders in precision medicine, in digital twins, in terms of modeling some of the things like brain and heart, and contributing in a very significant way in terms of evolving the so-called research and development around the patient care and medicines. So that's from my side, Shavik, and I will add as we move ahead.
That's I think that's a good start to setting the tone of the discussion by Mr. Himanshu Gupta, Country Manager Commercial Sales, HP India. I think the first example which you have given is very important, that we know about telemedicine. We have been talking about this for ages, but the way telemedicine and teleconsultation have been leveraged in last 4 5 months during the pandemic in India is unprecedented, and I think that's also shows the power of technology and how people have also adapted to the new norm. And you also talked about how HP is already focusing on enhancing technology innovation through R&D and D and everything. With this, I move to Dr. Saeed. Sabahat Azim, founder and CEO of Local Healthcare System Private Limited. Dr. Azim, your thoughts on how the emerging technologies can be leveraged more and more in the new world order? You being a healthcare leader from hospital, Local Healthcare System Private Limited, and the healthcare ecosystem. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Azim?
Thank you, Souvik. Just to first give you an introduction of Glocal Healthcare so we can set the context. Yes, Glocal does own and runs 12 hospitals of its own, but we are essentially a technology and a process company. And we created hospitals because we believe that until you deliver healthcare per se, you cannot create technology for it. Healthcare is a very, very immersive and a very complex, as well as from both in terms of outcomes to lives of people, it is the most sensitive. So you need to be able to know how to deliver healthcare, how it is actually consumed, how it is delivered until you before you can actually create technology. And one of the problems for technology in healthcare has been that there has been a division between technology, a wall, a Chinese wall between technology and healthcare so far. So our journey began in 2010, where we first created our first hospital, a 30-bed hospital, then a 50-bed hospital, then 100-bed hospitals in Bengal, Bihar, UP, and Orissa. We have 12 100-bed hospitals today. Uh, Based on that, we created technology. So the first piece of technology that we created was a semantic algorithm and AI-based clinical decision support system, which we call Litmus DX. It helps the moment you start putting in symptoms, it starts asking questions for this is something like Watson's IBM's Watson, but different in the sense that it also relies on semantic algorithms. Because if you use just an approach of AI ML, the problem is that with a small sample size, the output would be bad, and you can't really use it in real life. And you are talking about delivering healthcare. So it starts asking questions and gives the diagnosis. It recommends investigations, interprets investigation results. It recommends protocols for treatment. It titrates the dosages of the drugs to the age and weight of the patient. It checks for contraindications, special precautions, drug interactions, food interactions, alcohol interactions, and gives a safe prescription. So this went live in 2013. Then we said that this is not sufficient, and how do you bring the challenges, how do you get doctors to adopt it? Because see, in the field of medicine, we doctors have a huge amount of cognitive inertia, and most of the medical device companies sales are actually centered around cognitive inertia. So for example, let's say an X company makes a ultrasound machine. What it does is it will spend a lot of money in training people on their brand, because they know that once people are trained on one machine, they'll find it very difficult to move to another make. That's how the sales of technology works in healthcare. So it's difficult to get people to adopt something even if it is very critical. So we created Hello Life, which is a telemedicine platform, an on-demand Uberized platform that brings doctors and patients together in real-time basis. We launched that in around 2015. Then we said this is also not enough. So we created a terminal which can allow both investigations and examinations to happen in real time, which we call Litmus MX. Now, this terminal, what it does is it allows the doctor to examine a patient remotely. So, digital stethoscopy, otoscopy, rhinoscopy, laryngoscopy, dermoscopy. In India, unfortunately, because of law, we can't add ultrasound to it. Otherwise, that is a great technology. And so, this uses IoT. And then POCT, point of care technologies, for ensuring that the test results are available at the same moment during in consult. So we built in biochemistry analyzers and other POCT devices, which can, the moment the doctor writes or clicks an investigation, it is done parallelly. So before the consultation ends, the test results are available. So your liver function test, kidney function test, enzymes, proteins, electrolytes, hemoglobin, urine, and all kinds of immunology tests um, from your malaria to cholera to diphtheria, all of them can be done in that moment itself. You don't have to wait for 8 hours or 48 hours for results to come back. And then what is more important is for the patient to be able to get his medicine. So we integrated and automated medicine dispensing so that the moment the prescription is out, the dispenser actually pops out the medicines also automatically. So essentially, we reintegrated in primary care, consultation, examination, investigation, and medication, where the maximum time taken is about 30 minutes. And once this pandemic hit us, we created another piece of this. This whole set we call a digital dispensary. We created another iteration of this, which we call a Hello Life CX digital dispensary. This is meant for pandemics and infectious diseases. It's like a pod that can be installed immediately in 4 hours. This has ultraviolet C spectrum light sterilization. It has a positive pressure like we use in our operation theaters, so that air does not come in from outside to infect the nurse or the healthcare worker. And there's an acrylic barrier between the patient and the nurse, uh, with an aperture for examination and all for IoT devices and all to be handled, because the patient, you can't in a live encounter can't train the patient to put that IoT device automatically. But that aperture is also because of the positive pressure, the air is flowing in one direction from the nurse to the patient side. This particular innovation was just awarded on July 3rd by the UN Innovation as the most public appreciation award 2020. And we were very lucky now that the World Economic Forum has awarded as a Social Entrepreneur Year Award of 2020. We expanded from India to Philippines in the east, to Canada in the west. We are just closing contracts with US. We are in 6 countries in Africa, and as north as Mongolia. So we are 9 countries today. Especially, yes, the one catalyst has been COVID pandemic. Because of that, there's now too much of interest in this. Now, the point I would like to make here is that when we talk about emerging technologies in healthcare, the challenge, as I said, first challenge is cognitive inertia. How do you get behavior to change, especially among doctors, to be able to use newer technologies? This pandemic, of course, has been one of the catalysts that there was no option. So you found a lot of migration happening. How much of that migration is going to be permanent, and how much is it going to be temporary? And when people go back to life as it was before over the next 2 years, we do not know. But the needle has certainly shifted. The more important point to understand is that in a population of 7.8 billion on this planet today, the old way of delivering healthcare and consuming healthcare is no longer possible, because you can't have 7.8 billion people commuting twice a year or five times a year to take healthcare. Second is, when we talk about emerging technologies in healthcare, we often narrow ourselves down to a video consultation. See, video is only a part of that whole process. Uh, so the telemedicine, it should not be very narrowly interpreted. Uh, yes, as Himanshu was saying in the beginning, from drug discovery, and I think that those are even drug and the pharmaceuticals are in a very primitive age of technology today, that they are using this only for modeling for newer drugs, but it is not really linked to the patient encounters in a live scenario. So you need to talk about a 360 degrees transformation in healthcare, where it is about not just clinical trials, drug discovery, telemedicine, IoT, POCT, AI, ML, wherever required and necessary. It is about creating linkages all across these platforms, and it is not about software. Software is one important part of it. It is not about just a video link between two people. So most of these projects, when they fail, see, we have seen about 1.5 million patients today by now digitally, but this is also, we are scratching the surface only, because you're talking about 8 billion people on the planet today, and you're talking about 1.5 million, which basically means that we are only at a very early stage of this explosion to really happen and reap benefits to people. So the journey is going to be very interesting. The journey will actually be transformative in more aspects than one. The classical systems of guilds, which is, doctors delivering most of the healthcare as the front end, will also change. Legal regulatory substance systems will have to follow the change that is happening. and what is inevitable. What people don't know, like in a country like US, 20% of the population there also does not have access to healthcare. And the whole fight of Obamacare and the rollback, which Republicans want, it has to be seen in that light.
Dr.
When you
Azim,
don't
I'm
have,
just sorry to intervene you. If you kindly wrap it up in a minute because we have other speakers also. Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done. Let us just think about, when we talk about technologies, we should think about how healthcare is produced and delivered. So it's from the point of access to the point of production. All has to be covered, and it should not be seen in a light of only video consultations.
Interesting
That's it.
thoughts by Dr. Saeed Sawad Azim, founder and CEO of Global Healthcare System Private Limited. I'm sure that other panelists will be eager to join the discussion that it's not only about video consultation or something like that. The more important part is that how this services, technology, healthcare services is delivered and will be delivered in the new world order. And you also said about the changing the mindset of doctors and patients when shifting to technology more and more, and how long that is going to continue in the new world order once the pandemic is over. That needs to be seen as well. With this, I move on to Mr. Nandkishore Dhomne, Vice President IT and CIO Manipal Hospitals. Mr. Nandkishore, your thoughts on the importance of leveraging emerging technologies for helping the healthcare system fight this pandemic, and how you see that how COVID-19 has changed the healthcare technology spectrum per se. I think Mr. Nandkishore need to unmute yourself first.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me for this discussions. It's a great pleasure. Let me focus my reply in line with the topic today. The topic today is basically the role of emerging technologies during this pandemic, and what is the future, for all of us going forward. So I would also narrate what was our experience in Manipal, what did work for us, what did not work for us during this pandemic, and how the future looks like. So we all know that this pandemic, the COVID pandemic, was it was a global phenomenon and the most crucial, calamity, maybe after the World War II. That is how people are looking at it. So there are continuous lockdowns. People are not able to come to the hospital. There is the restriction on the movement. Okay, your companies are not able to produce the stuff. There's a supply chain impact. So a lot of those things are happening, and in this backdrop, healthcare system was still supposed to function to an optimum level. So there was an expectation that we still have to deliver certain things, right, to our patients, and we still have to attend the patients in emergency and whosoever are coming to hospital. So given that scenario, definitely we had challenges in terms of equipping our care teams to reach out to the patients, those who are not being able to come to the hospital facility, and those patients especially were more of the, let's say the OPD. Anyways, the elective surgeries, all that were postponed, and that also had the financial implications. We went down to almost some 40-45% of the pre-COVID revenue in terms of footfall, etc. So there was a major impact. So for us, the challenge was that how do we at least try to, reach out to the patients for the OPD services. So quickly, what we did was that we got into that video consultation thing, and we developed some solution within some 7 to 10 days, and we started doing the video consultations through Zoom, through WhatsApp, and there was some revenue coming to the organization. And further, that was then enhanced through Manipal mobile app, which had a complete integrated solution, right from the registration, appointment, make the payment, and do the video consultation, have the e-prescription, then the e-prescription sent to the patient's WhatsApp account as well as his email ID, and that goes to my pharmacy as well as the lab, and the pharmacy contacts the patient if they want some medicine to be delivered at home, or lab guy is going to home and picking up the samples, doing the test, and delivering an email to them of the result. So this was a completely integrated journey which we have done. And even today, when we are talking in the last 2 months, I think we have done roughly around 6,000 video consultations through the mobile app, and that app is still improving. So this was one quick immediate response during the COVID time. And yes, there was also a lot of orders we could get through the app for the pharmacy as well as for the lab. So both we were able to manage to some certain extent. So the point here is that we were, yes, able to be in touch with our patients, at least for the OPD services. That was one quick deliverable during the pandemic. And that even now continues to be one of our key deliverable in the form of the telemedicine, not only a video consult, but as an integrated approach, including the pharmacy and the lab services, etc. The second thing was that for the support services like finance, supply chain, HR, marketing, and IT, etc. Since we were not been allowed to, come out of home and go to office, so there was the work from home, stuff which we had to set up for the teams. So we had to enable the people to work from home and try and make sure that the supply chain continues to the hospital in terms of they getting their essential stuff, including the mask, the other consumables, the pharmacy stuff, etc. So supply chain team was able to do their job efficiently, effectively, sitting at home using technology. So they were able to connect with the suppliers, okay, and make sure that there is a constant supply chain, availability to the hospital, people. Same with the finance people, the HR people, the finance, they really wanted to make sure that the payments are processed for the suppliers. Okay, so they also had to use, login from home and do the work on their SAP platforms and other different software platforms. So work from home was one another, quick response to make sure that we are able to operate at a minimum level. And in fact, we also had some good appreciations in terms of that the technology department is adequately responding to the business during this pandemic situation, and we were doing better and better technologically and efficiency wise day by day. So today, if you now ask me how, so this was what during the peak pandemic, and even this continues today. Even if we are back to office and we are now 100% sitting in office, and the hospital also is completely 100% attendance from the care team perspective and all that, these technologies even today are playing an important role. The sensors, the temperature monitoring systems and all that, more and more automation and more contactless technologies. Okay, so that is the area where lot many things are happening, especially during the pandemic. And there's a lot of now pull factor even from the doctors, which otherwise had been a challenge before. Technology adoption by clinicians was definitely a challenge before, but today I think there is a change, there is a big transformation, and they are really asking for the technology because they know that now there's no other way, but it is the only and only digital way to go forward from here. So mobility, the RPA, the robotic process automation things for a lot of process automation. Then there would be the IoT kind of stuff in the ICU areas. All those things will anyways continue, eICU and stuff like that. But what I have seen during pandemic is that mobility was one of the major player. Video consultation was one of the important player. And since that is the topic today for the discussion, I would not spend more time on the other technologies which has its own role in the healthcare. So I'm just framing my dialogues from the pandemic perspective. And this is what the scenario today looks like.
Thanks, Mr. Nankishore Dhomne from Manipal Hospital for highlighting kind of digital interventions being leveraged by hospitals during the pandemic, and how a lot of things have been done by you. You talked about video consultation, work from home, and finance management and everything. And I hope a lot of hospitals have done the same with their customer innovation platforms. And with this, I come to Max Healthcare perspective. Let me ask Mr. Prashant Singh, Director and CIO Max Healthcare, what has been the role of technology and emerging technologies for Max Healthcare for fight off this pandemic situation? And what are your thoughts for the future new world order?
Thank you, Shobik. See, as far as the role of technology is concerned, whether it is pandemic or pre-pandemic stages, it was always pivotal. Now, what pandemic has given us as a positive point is the it has increased the value realization of the technology, so that medical fraternity, which was what very not very well versed earlier before pandemic, the same guys are actually after IT departments now to give more technology, and they are more hunger for the technology now. So as everybody is talking about virtual consult, the same happens with Max Healthcare also. So I think within a 10 or 15 days, we also launched the virtual consult as an extension to our whatever digital assets which we were already using. Like, so so much so now the as far as the extent of number of teleconsults are concerned, basically, so it forms 15% of the overall consults which are happening on all the locations so far. So now the next question comes is how much virtual consult or the process or the workflow is integrated with all the aspects of the healthcare delivery chain, including EMR, the health systems, and the billing systems, or the other ecosystem participants also, so to say. So this is the second stage. So we are already started the journey to have the complete the integration, not only for the OPD workflows, but also we are looking forward for the needs of the patients when the patients are admitted, from the digital asset or the contactless point of view, so that the a lot of activities can happen from the ward itself, basically. So that is the next step actually which we are looking for. And as rightly said by Dr. Azim, basically, so the question was whether it is a temporary phase or it just because of pandemic, or telemedicine or teleconsult would going to stay back even after pandemic also. So interestingly, we did a small survey of whosoever who have availed the video consult services from Max Healthcare. Surprisingly, so there were only two questions we asked. One is how was the experience of the teleconsult platform with the doctor in terms of understanding the prescription and the way actually they used to meet the doctor before pandemic one on one. The second question was, whether you would like to avail this kind of service even, when there is no pandemic and there is no COVID. So surprisingly, the result was 70% of the people, out of 1,000 people who responded, said that okay, this is a fantastic technology and we would like to continue the way we are using as of now. So that was very, very encouraging, even from the technology adoption post pandemic also. So now going ahead, basically, in the pandemic situation, although Max was already a large user of artificial intelligence in terms of radiology, and it was already giving a lot of advantages in terms of increasing the radiologist efficiencies and the diagnostic capabilities in terms of nodule detection, brain bleed, and fibrosis, etc. But the same as an extension, actually, what we did, actually, we applied the AI algorithm for the X-rays in terms of finding the suspicion of the COVID for the suspected patients, basically. And this did a fantastic job, because the RT-PCR takes a lot longer time. By that time, actually, we exactly know how much positivity is there, just after looking at the X-ray from the AI algorithms, basically. So that really helped a lot. Recently, we use video analytics, and one of the hospital, we are just doing a small pilot. Using that technology, we are just monitoring the social distancing norms and the mask compliance as one of the core areas which we are actually want to focus also, whether the compliance is up to the mark or not. So it is also giving a very, very good result. So hopefully, I think we'll be implementing in next couple of months for that. So going further on the technology usage of technology for the pandemic. So as we were already a large user of the EMR, so and a lot of patients of the COVID, basically. So we did a clinical research also, and we could only do it since we already have had the clinical records of the patients. So we have really taken a lot of advantage of using EMR. in terms of finding the clinical research on the COVID patients, basically. So this was in continuation with that. There was another big use case. We were already using remote patient monitoring. So going ahead in the pandemic area, where we already launched a lot of home health packages, so that our team can remotely monitor the patient, at who are at various stages, as far as the condition is concerned. So we have supplied the remote monitoring patients to the patient's home, so that our team, whether it is a TL or the doctor, can directly monitor the patients remotely in this particular pandemic time. So and there are a lot of other technologies also which we can talk about, but these are the more of the relevant technologies which I just wanted to talk about, which was more towards the pandemic related activities.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant Singh, Director and CEO, Max Healthcare, that you highlighted kind of technological innovations being leveraged by Max Healthcare during the pandemic. One of the points you mentioned that how AI has helped in your radiology uh, treatment, and that has been a game changer as far as Max is concerned. That was interesting. Mitali Bishwas, CIO CK Birla Hospitals, your thoughts on the emerging technologies for the healthcare ecosystem during the pandemic and the post-pandemic new world order.
So thank you, Shavik. So technology has always been crucial, be it any industry. But what COVID-19 has done, it has forced the technology adoption and accelerated the digital transformation in healthcare. So, great example already quoted by my fellow panelists, online consultation has always been there. But I think there was a resistance both from the doctors and I would say also from the patients on whether it would be viable or not. But COVID had just forced that option, and that's the reason we see such a increase. What it has also done, it is redefining the healthcare delivery. So we have been forced to think on how we can redefine the delivery. So we spoke about the teleconsultation, the work from home. I would also like to focus on what we did for during the pandemic for our workforce. So, to give you an example, we have a hospital in Jaipur, and a lot of its footfall comes from the remote districts. So, Jaipur being a small town, they get a lot of their patients from the adjoining districts that they have. And when the pandemic hit, that revenue totally stopped. So, they used to get a lot of referrals from the doctors, from the remote clinics, which just stopped. So, what we did was we quickly, came up with an app called RBH Connect, which helped the sales and marketing team to get in touch with the remote doctors, the doctors which are not our doctors at the hospitals per se, but in the remote areas, who could refer the patients. Also we tied up with some of the remote nursing homes and clinics who could refer the patients, and then with the help of the app, then we got to teleconsultation as well. Then nursing, learning of the nursing, regular changes in the COVID protocols, guidelines, so online platform for the nurses learning. So other than, looking at the patients, we also looked at how we can digitally enable the workforce, that we have. And I would say cloud, as a technology played a very critical part, because speed, was very key. You had to execute it very fast. And, the only reason we were able to build applications and implement it so fast was because we had the cloud technology. If we were in the old traditional, getting the whole infrastructure in place, probably took months earlier. So cloud, I would say, it played a very critical part during the pandemic for us to, I think, all the industries to be able to launch these applications, very faster. Now, going forward also, I think cloud, IoT, AI, all these technologies are going to play a very important role in healthcare, as we see a very tangible shift from a traditional healthcare model to a more, digital-centric model. And the challenges that the healthcare industries are going through, to name a few of them, there is a demand for now value-based care, rising cost, ever-changing government regulations, threats to privacy, patient privacy and information security. That's a new threat. With as we become more digital, that's a negative part that we have. So these are some of the key challenges, and the technology is going to play a very important role in overcoming these challenges. So if I have to kind of categorize into three broad areas where we will say, see an increased usage of technology. So the first would be patient experience. People now, with the mobile and internet and with very ready access to data, they've become more tech savvy, I would say, and they expect all that data, their healthcare data, to be available at their fingertips and get insights from them. The National Health Digital Mission, which was announced by our Honorable Prime Minister, that's a step towards it, and that brings in interoperability, security, and I personally feel that's going to become a mandate in the next 2 or 3 years. And once it becomes a mandate, we wouldn't have any choice. So, as an industry, probably we already need to start, thinking along those lines. I think within the hospital now, all the applications talk to each other, but we need to see how the hospitals the different hospitals can talk to each other. When it comes to patient data, he's not stuck to one hospital. There are different hospitals, labs, even the insurance providers. There's a whole ecosystem. So that I see, would evolve going forward. Hospital will just be a small component of the entire interdependent ecosystem going forward. So that's about, and the patient will be there at the center. So that's about the patient experience. Second, I would say, is the operational efficiency through a digitally enabled workforce. So as the patient priorities are, shifting, even we need to change, as we, in the sense, our hospital workforce, we also need to say how we deliver those services. So they need to be digitally literate, if I can say so, because traditionally all the hospital operations have been very labor intensive. There's not been much use of digital, if I can say so, in the different departments. And when I say different departments, it's just not the clinical facing or patient facing departments. It's also, the sales and marketing, the supply chain, the finance, even IT and HR. And what I see will be very important is data. So data is going to play a very, very important role across all functions of the hospital. The insights that we get from the data, that's going to help in making, better decisions for the hospital. It will also, highlight the gaps that we have in terms of operational efficiency. And, once we have an idea of those gaps, then, we can come up with either, RPA or, any other sensor technologies like, RFID, barcode, all of that, to bridge those gaps. So, it's very important that we capture all the data. And I think that would be the focus, at least now, so that we could, utilize the, the emerging technologies around AI analytics that's coming in. And the third part, that I would say is clinical excellence. So here also, IoT and AI is going to play a very critical part as we move from more traditional model of delivery to more of digital mode of delivery. The remote care, the focus is going to shift from more of reactive to a predictive healthcare. So now the focus is on the entire well-being rather than, the patient coming and then getting treated. And again, since patient has become more educated, that's what they want. So connected health is going to be more important. So what we have, we've just taken up a POC in our hospital to be able to monitor the entire ICU. So all the devices that are connected to ICU patient, be it a ventilator, or the syringe pumps, or, the monitors or the vital stats. So kind of have a integrated view of how the patient is doing. So the doctor can actually check it from anywhere, and, there will be alarms, and then, it's more predictive. So, before, the condition reaches where he needs the treatment, you can take steps before so that, that's not needed. So, again, predictive diagnosis, AI is going to again play a very critical role there. While most of things are in POC or in very initial stages, it's not yet, at that high scale. But I think going forward, technology is definitely going to play, very critical role, I would say, in all these three areas. To summarize, patient experience, operational efficiency with the use of digitally enabled workforce, and then clinical excellence.
If I take what Mithali just has said, she has said a lot of important things, and I think I can see some of the eminent panelists were also nodding their head when Mithali was speaking. If I can just say a one-liner of what Mithali has said, that accelerated digitally transformation for redefining healthcare delivery. I think that has been the crux of her speech right now, and she has spoken about how the data will be of utmost importance, how patient experience will be changing, what will be the new demands, because they are all tech savvy. All of them must have having a smartphone or a tab nowadays. So that all needs to be rethinking and realigning, or looking at things in a new way. We all have to adapt to that new normal stage, and I think that's going to happen. As you talked about data, I can see some questions have already generated from audience, which I'm going to ask at the end of this discussion related to data and cybersecurity. Let me go to Mr. Shubhankar Pramanik, CIO, Columbia Asia Hospitals Private Limited. Uh, Mr. Pramanik, your thoughts on the role of emerging technologies. One set is the existing technology, your role on the newest technologies. Your opinion on that?
Very good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be part of this panel. And I just listening all my fellow panelists. They are correctly said. Basically, technology was there. It was there in 10 years back also. In my career, I have seen telemedicines, teleconsultations, and teleradiology 10 years back also. Now the adaptability increases because of the COVID situations. Now even this technology has developed their own way. The way of working of those technologies changes, but the technology was there. So definitely emerging technology means technology developments as well as the adaptability of the medical fraternity in the hospitals. So as a CIO, the role is to plug in those two things. Basically, you have to inject those changes into your medical fraternity, how you use those technology in your business practices. We have to be very you can say alert how we are imposing those technology, how we are injecting those technology in our businesses, healthcare businesses, specifically for doctor fraternity. You know, this is very sensitive area, and this is very you can say sensitive in both sides, from doctors practices and the patient's data also, and for the patient's perspective also. Doctors in Indian healthcare, doctors never wants that technology should dictate their practices. So you have to apply your technology where you will be apply your artificial intelligence, where you will be apply your robotics kind of things, in which area. You can't apply those things in straight away in your diagnosis process also, because doctor will be more sensitive in that area. And in terms of patient's perspective, patients still have the psychology that until unless doctor is not physically looking after, it is not treated properly. So there is a psychological effect also. So where you put this technology, maybe from follow visit, you can put this technology. Maybe as a add-on facility, you can put this technology. So the plugins where you are plugged in this technology, you have to be very careful. Second thing is the data security part. Nowadays, every hospital says go for teleconsultations, video consultations kind of things. And in hurry, they are using WhatsApp kind of medium, WhatsApp, Teams, any other mediums also. Is the patient's data is secured? Have you checked those data? So we have to alert. They just plug in those technology for business perspective. It's not always good for in all cases. So when you are applying your technology, you should be alert how the patient data is secured or not, patient's rights are secured or not. So as a CIO, we have to look after those things. And definitely it is a very you can say very positive sides that we have a scope to change the healthcare medium and to bring healthcare business into the digital platform. It is a very, you can say, for IT persons, it's a very good scope for us how to bring those business into the digital platform. And definitely there are two part of this digitalizations is your business, outer business, like how you are connect with the patients, and how you are connect with the patients inside your hospitals. So as already Mitali told that how you can change your workforce into the digital workforce. Basically, they have to be educated into the digital way. So you have to change that work culture in your organizations, putting some sort of technology, paperless ICU, paperless NICU, and this type of technology. So your ICU people should adapt those technology. Otherwise, it will fail, always fail. And once it is failed, your next level of, you can say, whenever you will try next time, the success factor will not be so big once you have tried first one. So you have to be very careful how you are imposing those technology in those area. In Columbia, definitely Columbia, I joined very months back with, and I have seen the teleconsultations, teleradiology is much more rich in from any other organizations also. And teleradiology part, they are catering in different, you can say, even continent also. They are taking care of, like they are handling Africa from here, from Bangalore itself. So they are handling in remote area of Africa also. They are handling in remote area of India also. So they are very strong in this area. And Columbia are looking for a good teleconsultations adaptability, and they already implemented teleconsultations app with the secured versions. And we are looking for, like, simple examples. We are looking for patients feedback through QR code also. So if you go enter into the reception area, you can scan those QR code and you get the feedback form on your mobiles, and you can do those jobs. So we are taking care of the COVID scenarios also. This way, definitely we will be looking for a greater prospect of technology in healthcare.
Right. Sumangal Pramanik, CIO, Columbia Asia Hospitals Private Limited. And a very important part has been pointed out by you, that adaptability of mindset change in your own healthcare fraternity. That is very important. Otherwise, whatever technology you leverage, that won't be successful. That's a very important part. And I think that slowly and steadily, that mindset shift can be seen in real life, recent times in real life, especially during pandemic. You never thought that people will be wearing masks wherever they are going, but people now are wearing masks. And again, that goes same for the healthcare fraternity, that they have to adapt to technology to deliver healthcare services to the patients. I think that's going to be changed. Thanks a lot, Sumangal Pramanik. With this, I go to a very important speaker of this session, Mr. Abdullah Salim, Group CIO, Omni Hospitals. Mr. Salim, your thoughts. You have been a veteran in this industry for so many years. Your thoughts as a digital healthcare leader from the hospital fraternity. What will be the role of emerging technologies, not today, not only today, but in the post-pandemic new world order?
Definitely. Thank you very much for inviting me for this session. And thanks to all the panelists who has given their inputs, and they have broadly covered most of the area pertaining to the topics. I will add and I'll talk about that how the technology is going to give the value proposition, and what was and earlier the hospital was looking for those propositions which was not possible. But when the technology and then the digital transformation started happening, and in the past, before COVID era, there was the challenges in terms of the technology, the cost, and the adaptability. But those, up to some extent, the mindset has been changed, and and the adaptability of technology from the clinical providers and the patient side has been drastically improved. So what I'll give a quick snapshot what are the preposition in terms of the technology is going to enable as an enabler to have the better business, to achieve the patient experiences, to achieve the patient satisfactions, and of course the treating doctor improving the treating doctor experience as well. So the snapshot will be liking that I'll categorize into patient. The second one is the caregiver. That is the second, the doctors, and the final will be the hospital. The comprehensive value propositions, 360-degree benefits will be enabled by the technology. If it is being adopted properly, the patient perspective, it is going to increase the patient understanding, and it will be helping to whole patient care, to support their whole patient care and support at their fingertips. It will enable to nurse-led follow-up services, and the active monitoring and assessment, reduce emergency visit and readmissions, and well-coordinated and efficient process. This will be the patient perspective. The value proposition will be enabled if the technology is implemented and transformed across the organization. As a caregiver perspective, it helps the oversight assurance, this effective communications, and COVID-19 support. Of course, caregiver can confidently practice social distancing and isolations if required in the wake of COVID-19, because this technology we have used across the COVID era. If the patients are being isolated at home or hotel, the complete technology has helped them to monitor them, and in case of the patients from a mild to moderate to high critical goes in the hospitalization was taking place, and well in advance and time, so that the COVID is not virus is not hitting so badly to the patient, and they are rather than going to the critical stage, they recovers very fast. So that's perspective, and it bridges the geographic distances. It is going to improve the competence, and these are the area that the caregiver perspective, the propositions will be added for the caregiver if the technology is enabled at the organization level. The second category comes doctors. It will improve patient compliances. Data research and analytics will be there. One of my panelists were talking about the predictive analytics and predictive database workflow will be available for that. And then the pre-hospital care plans and assessment will be enabled very well. Post-hospital care plans means the technology that is very the people very less people talk about that if the patient is discharged, what is supposed to be, how he's supposed to be monitored, what at the home, especially for the chronic patients. So there, the post-discharge, the hospital can keep the eyes on the patient, and that cannot be done without technology. And then the optimal care services, reduce burnout, and the interactive doctor's dashboard. So this interactive doctor's dashboard, again, we talking about the predictive part of the predictive analytics, and then the remote patient monitoring and collaborations for the doctors is going to enable. So and the final category is the hospital, where the hospital is going to what are the area the hospital is going to have the value proposition in terms of business and the goal or achievement and mission achievement perspective. So is operational excellence. It is going to improve, of course, improve patient outcomes, This is what the hospital looks, the patient care and patient safety. If the patient experience are improved, then means you don't have to do any branding for your hospital, and the occupancy of the hospital, of course, will be on the top every time. And the care continuum, a multidisciplinary ecosystem of care enabled at home from the hospital side to their patient, and that is again enabling the patient engagement. And the next one is the comprehensive coordinated approach, and finally the brand loyalty. This is what the hospital is going to get in terms of value preposition for the hospital. As I'll take one more minute. The people are talking about that telemedicine, teleconsultation, and as one of my friends has said, that this technology was there long back, 10, 12 years ago, but it was a nice to have feature. Neither the doctors were coming forward, the doctors were not coming forward because the acceptability from the patient was not there. So now that context has totally changed due to the COVID era. And if you're talking about that telemedicine, it is a must-have component of your enterprise solution, and it should be clinically rich, which will be helping to the doctors during the discussions remotely, whether in the audio or video, that it should be so clinically rich that the patient is being treated properly and clinical errors are being controlled. And because the technology, and I hope everybody agrees on that due to the non-acceptability of the technology across the globe, I don't know how many millions people were dying. This US was one of the developing country, and due to that, clinical errors was so badly affected to the US, where care came in picture, and they tried to get it implemented. So I hope this technology is going to help a lot in terms of the people who were, millions of people were dying due to the clinical error, unknowingly. Else, without technology, we cannot stop that problem, which is lying there in the industry for so long. Thank you very much.
Right. That was Abdullah Salim, Group CIO, Omni Hospitals. And what he has said, that end of the day, technology has to be leveraged to get rid of the problems of clinical errors and everything. But I think that technology has to be also used in an optimum way, where the technology will be easily available. The infrastructure of technology has to be there. What may be okay for a hospital, 100 or 500 hospital in an urban scenario may not be true for setting a small hospital in rural or semi-urban scenario. So for that technology to succeed, you need to back it up with the infrastructure, connectivity, and other things. That also has to be ensured. I will come to the next question. I think we have 20 minutes with us for the last. This is the last half of this panel discussion. Already exciting and enlightening and insightful for all of us. I can see one very important question have come. I'll ask that in the last 5 minutes to all of you. My question to all of you will be that we talked about the technology, how technology can be the game changer and how it is becoming a game changer. But what about the challenges which will be posed by technology? More you use technology, there will be more challenges. How to overcome those challenges in terms of our CIOs and IT heads of hospital chains are ready to address that scenario? I'll come to all of you, but before that, I'll come to Himanshu Gupta from HP. Himanshu, when we talk about healthcare solution providers, do you think that these companies are already seeing the challenges which are on their anvil, maybe a couple of years down the later, and the companies, all the health solution providers are also adapting to those changes and preempting those challenges, and accordingly they're coming up with solutions. Your thoughts on that? But I'll request all of you to give your perspective in 2 minutes max.
Yeah, thank you, Shauvik. I think it's a time of transition. Some of the bigger players in the market, which are very well-known brands, definitely had a much higher level of transformation in their digital journey versus some smaller players. So if you look at the overall plethora of healthcare providers, some of them have to really do a heavy lifting in terms of getting speed up to digital transformation. But some of them have really scaled well, and we have heard from so many CIOs today, and all of them are from the leading institutes. And I can understand that the transformation happened very fast in terms of adopting to technologies which were already existing. What about technologies which are sort of under development and which can be put to use? For example, today, doctors, they give an average patient care versus an actual patient care, because a lot of times they have generalized way of looking at patients because the data is not there, his medical past history is not there. There is no live updates in terms of what he has been, his parameters over the last few weeks, because all this data which is coming is static. It goes from our wearables onto some app and it just lies there. So the ability to have a collaborative platform as we move ahead, and then the ability of doctors and CIOs to literally put all those insights into some meaningful business platform and give those insights to doctors, make their decisions more intelligent, more real time, is going to be the effort from all of us. Now, how it will succeed, let me tell you one very, very important contribution from HP. See, when the COVID started, HP immediately came forward and said there is a COVID pledge we are taking at a worldwide level, that we will open our all IPs and all patents regarding to testing, finding cure in terms of anything else regards to COVID vaccine and related stuff. That is a very, very important step taken by HP. Now, when you have a collaboration at that level, wherein a giant like HP is opening its patents to all the people around the world who are going to leverage it for building vaccines and any patient care, outpatient department care, or inpatient care, I think it speaks volume into collaboration. I think we are moving away from competition to cooperation, and that's where I think HP's role comes into play. Secondly, just to add how doctors and the CIUs will adapt, we have introduced platforms like HP Esmeralda, which is a software development platform, or software platform where you can literally modernize your apps. Right, you can make use of the data from edge to cloud on a single platform, whether it is leveraging bare metal or virtual machines. Now, for CIOs, this is very interesting because you stop giving VMware tax, which you normally do, and you can have all the cloud native apps being available as microservices for putting all the startups' new applications onto a cloud using my platform, which is HP Esmeralda. So some of these new technologies, while it is not genuinely related to COVID, but they're coming very handy now at this moment, that it can give you all the performance, scalability, and orchestration, which will simplify your IT operation at a much, much reduced cost. So I would want the CIOs to look at it and possibly give your thoughts, go through the literature. And beyond that, I think it's all about learning from each other now. We can build technologies, and I said I'll give you some examples, and it'll take another 30 seconds. HP working with the likes of Stanford University for a project around we call it the living heart, and the research is all around building simulations and models using AI and ML to see the flow of blood in the heart, and how you can have a 3D imagery, and you can simulate the actual functioning of a heart in a way that you can test medicines on that digital simulation and not actually test on a real patient, so that you can reduce the risk when it is actually tested. So all these projects are currently undertaken by HP. Apart from that, we have also a very important project called as Blue Brain 5 project, worked with a university and a research labs in Switzerland, wherein we are working on mapping the human mammalian brain, and we would want to literally try and see how the different levels and parts of the brain interact. And we are doing for a mouse now at this level, and the level of complexity, I will tell you, to basically simulate one neuron, you have to have 20,000 differential equations to be solved. And as you expand that simulation to the entire brain of a mouse, you have to manage 100 billion differential equations solved concurrently. So this project is undergoing for the last 2 years, and HP has provided top of the line SGI 8600, stack of products with the IP to manage the software, the entire platform. So what I'm trying to bring point is, while the precision medicine is one area where HP is doing great, this is another area of research where HP is putting a lot of its focused money, and this comes from a sponsorship from our CEO Antonio Neri, to see that we advance the way people live and work, and we literally remain very, very relevant to the masses and to the people around us. So that's my view. And we have a lot of more things in terms of infrastructure offerings, as talked about HP Esmeralda. We also have Aruba platform, and just to take another 10 seconds. A lot of things were talked around bringing, business back to work. So Aruba is a technology which is Wi-Fi plus security collaboration at the last mile, which is the edge. HP ensured that we come up quickly with solutions which help customers have their remote workers manage their businesses as they were doing it in the office on the premises. So we have solutions like RAP, remote access points, and other collaboration solutions with Aruba's UXI, which is user experience insights, which can help CIOs deploy these technologies free of any concerns around security, around connectivity, and be at peace in terms of managing the entire infrastructure, whether at home, whether at office. So all this becomes very relevant when hospitals, their remote workers, the lab research and technicians work remotely from their offices or homes and collaborate at a wider platform when all these technology solutions are available. Along with that, HP also announced 2 billion of funding for HP financial services side to help customers get back on their toes because of fund issues and cash flow issues. So overall, I think we are doing our level best to see that companies get back onto shape as early as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Himanshu, for putting up the HP perspective and what kind of solutions you're providing worldwide. I'll go back to the healthcare leaders from hospital chains as well. The question was very simple: that are the CIOs or healthcare tech leaders or hospitals ready for the next set of challenges posed by more and more use of technology and innovation? I'll go to all of you one by one, maybe 2 to 3 minutes each for you. Dr. Saeed Azim, your thoughts on that? Are we ready for the next set of challenges to be seen, which will come with the technological interventions more and more? If you can unmute yourself, Dr. Azim.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I would say that's a very non-specific question to answer. Are we prepared for problems which may happen in the future?
So, because there are already some problems which are happening with the more and more use of technology in terms of infrastructure. The questions come from that angle.
I think the problem, first of all, is that healthcare as an industry is technologically challenged. I'm talking about delivery side. So all the CIOs sitting here, they will always face problems with their management and owners which are looking at today's business, and that will be the challenge of transformation, because CIOs in Indian hospitals, even abroad also, most of the countries are not empowered enough, and this is seen as an add-on rather than a critical part of healthcare service. But having said that, in any case, I think change is not an option. It will be forced down the throat of everybody to survive in the future. And yes, the issues will be the issues of privacy, the amount of data that is available outside for your personal space. And I would say that probably the phase beyond Facebook, Google, will be the phase where you would move on to a zero knowledge proof kind of a paradigm, where it will not be an issue of data privacy, but the issue would be, why do you want to access my data in the first place? Why does a hospital need to know that my name is Sabahat Azim to be able to treat me? It is irrelevant. So we will move, I think, very quickly once this pandemic dust settles down, to be asking the questions of tomorrow, and they will be centered more around ZKP than big data, AI, ML, and all. And those who are still fighting on the battles of AI, ML will find themselves displaced in that environment. That's all I think probably I can contribute right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Saeed Azim. Mr. Nandkishore, your thoughts on that? Because when Dr. Azim said, he said a very important part that still in many places the role of healthcare tech leaders in hospital chain are seen like a value added thing, not as a necessity. I don't know whether that is right or wrong, but you all are part of this ecosystem. Do you think that that is going to change now that healthcare technology leaders will be taking more and more important part in the hospital ecosystem?
Yes, a very good question. In fact, thanks for this question. And I'm seeing that big transformation from the two levels. In fact, one from the CXO level. CEO per se, already CEO had a kind of vision. CEO level was already aligned with the technology, especially in Manipal, since the IT comes under CEO as a strategic function. But what I could see is the peer group, the COOs and the CFO and the HR heads, etc., and all the hospital directors. They are definitely now on a same page as to where the CIO used to be, and there is a big demand for the technology. While we are talking about how do we monitor the convergence, and therefore we have e-prescription implementation. How do we use technology to do more specific marketing campaigns to get more footfall in the hospital, the digital footfalls, the actual footfalls, the new areas, the entire the CRM kind of systems to manage the complete patient life cycle. So while we are talking, these are the things which in Manipal we are discussing today, and how do we have end-to-end integrated approach towards whole technology implementations. So I think the answer to your question is yes. A lot many things are happening, and now, I mean, I see this change, and it's good that I don't have to now safeguard my job. There is already a lot of work for me now to do, because now there is an ask from the management side, more ask in fact. Earlier it used to be I go, I present, that is what I want to do. Now they're asking me that can you have these solutions implemented. In fact, they're finding some vendors also for me. So my job is much easier now. I get a couple of vendors from them, which I then speak to them and understand the technology. So the answer is yes. There is a big transformation. There is a pull factor from the business, from the peers, the CXO levels, hospital directors, and the users also.
Right. I think what Mr. Nandkishore Dhumne was saying, that when he said the answer is yes, it reminded me of a song. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Maybe we all are now seeing that change in the psyche and the mindset. That change is inevitable, and we have to adapt to that change. Mr. Prashant Singh, your thoughts on that quickly?
See, certainly, actually, I agree with whatever Nandkishore is saying, basically, because we have clearly see the change. Unlike the earlier methodology, where the board of director, something is coming from the board of director, and then directly that will be worked out by the IT. Now, the CIO role is part of that particular core committee, wherein a lot of business, values are being discussed, and then and there, they are actually thinking everything, that, for example, if anything which can be thought of, including IT, so can we really enhance some business values or some processes or some workflows, and then and there. So it is not that some first the process will be made and then IT will be thought of. So this I can really see a big change actually has already happened.
Right. Before I move to Mithali, let me also inform our delegates who are seeing this conference live in the virtual platform. We have our expo zone also there. Our healthcare technology partners are showcasing the innovation. You can actually go and visit that expo area, and you can feel the innovation. Obviously, that gap will be there of physical proximity and virtual, but I can vouch for it that the entertainment and the insights you'll get won't be any less than the physical feeling of going to expo zone. Yeah, I think already the delegates who have registered and they're part of this 2 sessions since afternoon have already witnessed that this virtual event is actually opening up all kind of opportunities, one-to-one, peer-to-peer networking, visiting Expo area. So I'm again requesting all of them that you can go to our Expo area and see the technological innovations which are being exhibited there. And with this, I come to Mithali. Mithali Vishwas, your thoughts on that?
So, change is inevitable, as you said, and we can never be prepared 100% for the change. But I'll answer it from a different perspective in terms of, what as CIOs, what behaviors we can follow to be prepared for that change. And, I consider it as, follow ABCD approach. So A stands for being agile and adaptable. We need to be more agile, and then, open our minds to be more, because the technology is going to change. It's change every month now. So, learn about it, being, aware about what's happening, and then be ready to adopt it, maybe in small pieces. We no more do a big bang, but then be ready, be agile and more adaptable. B stands for business change driver. Change management, I would say, is the biggest challenge, and Shubhankar was also pointing it out. I feel, implementing a piece of technology is much easier than comparing to the change management to make it adopt and, in the entire organization. So we as CIOs, I think we need to be more business change drivers, working with not only the management, but, across functions to be able to adopt, that technology. C stands for collaboration. As I was talking also earlier about an integrated health ecosystem, and Himanshu also pointed about, cooperation over competition. So collaboration and partnerships, again, very important thing going forward, because we are now part of a, bigger ecosystem. So, collaboration with the right technology vendors, maybe the cloud technology partner, medical devices partner. So collaboration is, again, as CIOs, we need to start thinking about those partnerships. And fourth, data strategist. So again, bringing the importance of data, we need to be prepared. So analytics, these are still maturing, but to be able to take advantage of it, again, cannot emphasize the importance again, that, we need to be very sure, that we are capturing all the data which we can utilize later. So that's, the ABCD: agile and adaptable, business change driver, collaboration, and data strategist.
Right. Shubhankar Pramanik, your thoughts on that? CIO Column Asia Private Limited, quickly.
Quickly, I am agree. It is definitely yes. Change is yes, and two things. One is as a Shubhankar, as a patient to the Columbia Asia, a consultant wants to have the data of Shubhankar at Max, Shubhankar at Manipal, Shubhankar at Columbia Asia. So interoperability will be the immediate change, and it will be next 3 to 4 years project for any CIOs. And number one. Number two, definitely there is a business change already happened, and it will sustain next 3 to 4 years, and it will be a main channel of your revenue business next 3 to 4 years. So we have to be prepared for two major changes next 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Mr. Salim, your thoughts on that before we conclude this session?
Okay, my thought on it is very clear. I think Mithali has very well covered that, and just to add her point to a bit of more to have a bit of more clarity. So technology were never challenged. So I'll put it in 3 P's. People, process, technology. If you see the pie chart of this people, process, technology, right people, right process, and map the technology, then the challenges, whatever the challenges are there, you are going to achieve that challenge up most level, not 100%, but challenges will be decreased. Major challenges in terms of critical high will be addressed. So people caters 35%, process catered 35%, which caters the people and process 70%, and 30% the technology. So technology is not a challenge. The right people, right process, put it, map with the technology, and your perspective, your goal will be right there based on the expected outcome. Secondly, that I would like to say the major challenge is, if any organization, I'm talking about other interoperability and data security, those will come later. But I'm thinking that we have to be digitized first. If we are not digitized, we cannot think about the data security and interoperability. The major challenge is here that the budget, the IT spend, and if the organization is not a digital data-driven based business is believing, this challenge will be always there. And if this major challenge is not being addressed, then rest of the challenge, nobody can mitigate that. So and it's a very simple example we have. HIMSS stage 6, HIMSS stage 7 talk about, you go and browse this in, which give the accreditation. In India, there are 2 hospitals which has got HIMSS stage 6. One of them is one of my friend is here, Max Saket, and the second one is the Chennai Apollo Hospital. I don't know the third one, I have not seen it in India. So just imagine that this is the ground reality in terms of digital transformation within the country. If it is not being addressed, and it is not being addressed because there is the business owner understand that the technology is not going to help them to run their business, which is again a myth. Now the condition has come that without technology you cannot run your business. So that understanding the business owner should understand, and the IT spend of their budget that should be very clear, so that we can take it ahead and show their outcome what they are looking for. I hope everybody, all the ECI will agree on that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah Salim. And if I take a synopsis of the last 1.5 hour discussion, I think change is inevitable. We have to adapt to the changes in terms of using technology more and more, but also we have to keep in mind the practical problems which will come with those changes, and we have to create those infrastructure to address those changes when we talk about technological and innovation to use more and more and more. And that is the way forward, I think, and we all have agreed that that is the way forward, that data, patient engagement, using more and more emerging technologies, all will be there, all has to be there in New World Order. More and more it will be there, but at the same time, we have to create that infrastructure to support that kind of technology for delivering healthcare services, and next gen CIOs and CEOs have to be ready for that kind of scenario. Thank you so much, Mr. Himanshu Gupta, Dr. Syed Sabad Azim, Nand Kishore Domne, Prashant Singh, Mitali Vishwas, Shubhankar Pramanik, and Abdullah Salim for joining us this session on role of emerging technology in helping the healthcare system fight the pandemic and how COVID-19 has changed the Indian healthcare technology landscape, the way forward. That brings us to the end of the first day of Digital Transformation Conclave, which is being hosted by Department of Electronics and IT, Government of Odisha, along with Moradabad Smart City Limited, and organized by GovConnect and APEC Digital News Network, and powered by Hewlett Packard Enterprise and Intel, and supporting partner NIC, cloud technology partner Oracle, storage partner Western Digital, technology partner Globus, and collaboration partner Avaya. That was the first day of Digital Transformation Conclave. The first day was dedicated to healthcare. Tomorrow we have a dedicated Digital India track, and day after we have a dedicated Smart Cities track. Do join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. and also get insights on Digital India and Smart Cities. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Shavik. Thank you, everyone.